Hi, James. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very well, very well. Now, the last time I interviewed you was a few years ago. It was a hotel in Sydney, and I played you a bunch of songs by Australian artists to get your opinions of them.
That's right. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was afraid to, I remember, worrying about insulting people.
I think you were very diplomatic in general.
Oh, good.
Good. I read that you first met Brian in 2004 at the Roskilde Festival, where you learned that you were both fans of each other's music. I wanted to ask you, what was it about his music and his producing that had interested you by that stage?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was interesting to me, the idea of somebody who's... I'm always kind of interested in talk to anybody who's really into the Beatles.
Yep.
So, and then, of course, intrigued by what he had done with the Grey album.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinated by that whole process, and how the hell he pulled that off.
Mm.
And, but at that time, it wasn't so much an idea of ever doing anything like we're doing now. I was really fully in the middle of trying to get the Shins really off the ground. I had just done our second record, and we were there in Denmark promoting it. So I just had no thoughts of anything like this ever happening at that point.
Mm. It seems that up until now, my impression is that your songwriting process has been quite solitary, and I know that you had already written and even recorded parts of Wincing the Night Away before you brought the other members in. Were you immediately comfortable with this level of collaboration that you've had with Brian in Broken Bells, or did it take a bit of getting used to?
I was, because I was looking for somebody to collaborate with. I knew that I wanted to have that experience of sharing the creative process with somebody that I felt comfortable with and would bring some new energy and enthusiasm to the writing and recording process. So it was kind of perfect. So it wasn't difficult for me to give up creative control over everything. I mean, we decided at some point there that we would, each have a veto power. If we didn't like something, either one of us could say, I don't like it, and then that's it. Okay, that's gone. And it's kind of cool because then you end up with something that inevitably has only cool stuff, to the people involved, at least.
What do you think it is about your sort of separate approaches to songwriting that has made this a seemingly successful collaboration for you?
Well, I think we both know how to fill in the gaps for the other. Brian really, I think, is great at, seeing what if I come up with a chord progression and maybe I come up with a melody and I'm sitting there with him, he just is a terrific inventor of like the next stage, I think, or like what it needs, like what it lacks maybe to make it really engaging. And for me, I think that I'm my strong suit when he's coming up with chord progressions and song ideas. I'm my strong suit, I think, is coming up with melodies. And so, we just kind of, if either of us are doing something, there's always, I think, something the other can add to it.
Did you have any song ideas at all before going into the studio, or was this a totally a clean slate for both of you?
It was totally a clean slate.
Yeah.
I showed up the first day, and we literally, we just had no idea what we were going to do, and I remember Brian picked up a little piece of electronics from the 70s, some weird little novelty item that played chords and things, and he started just messing around, going back and forth, and I started humming up a melody, and in probably 20 minutes we had something recorded that was a sketch for a song. And then you just keep adding to it and flesh things out. It just goes really quickly.
Yeah.
We've been lucky. It's just kind of, we're very prolific when we're together in the studio. It's pretty cool.
Is there a lot of material that hasn't made it onto this album?
Yeah, we do. And just today I was kind of realizing that process was really about kind of cutting away the extra, well, what is it like? It's almost like, I guess, the way that somebody sculpts, you know, they pull away the stone and then they reveal the coherent sort of idea that they had in mind. I mean, I think that's what we ended up doing with the record. Originally, we had, you know, I don't know, 13 or 14 songs that we were going to put on it. And then it just started to become apparent after listening to it that there were a certain number of songs that just, they didn't seem to fit in. Not that they weren't good enough to be on a record or anything. They were a step in a different direction that didn't quite, they sort of detracted from the feel. And so we pulled off a number of them. We so it ends up with 10 now. You know, one of the songs I really thought should be on the record, and then Brian convinced me. And all it took was for me to listen to the record without it, and I realized he was right.
Yeah. I mean, from listening to the album, this seems like the most, I suppose, diverse showcase of vocals from you that I've heard. Was it always your intention to push yourself vocally in this project?
No, I think it just ended up happening. You know, we really didn't have any conversations about what I never thought, like, oh, I'm going to really do some new vocal things or anything. It just seemed to be, I think, the atmosphere created in the studio, you know, that Brian kind of generates, probably, he's responsible for that, is just one where you can just do whatever you want and you feel really comfortable experimenting and just, you know, trying to figure out what is going to make this work as best as possible. And it's really, I don't know, I'm lucky that I've been able to be around that.